Hello and welcome. First, I wasn't sure it was live, but now it is. So, hello, I am Denise Wakeman, your host and guide to Adventures in Visibility. And today's show is going to be all about how to use visual branding to boost your visibility, especially on your blog. My guest today is Andrea Beltrami. I hope I pronounced that right.
Yep.
Okay, good. I meant to ask you first. I forgot to. But I
You
figured if you go
nailed
by
it.
Dre, yeah, I figured
Yeah.
if you go by Dre, then it's Andrea instead of
Yes.
Andrea. So
Yes.
anyway, my guest, Dre, is a smart and sassy young woman. At least that she looks very young to me, so I'm assuming she's a young woman. Anyway.
We'll keep the facade going.
Okay, all right. It's that's what we're going with here. Anyway, I met Dre, or I didn't meet her. I've been following her and her awesome, epic blog posts for quite some time. And then she did a mini course on visual branding, your visual branding images, or something like that, or branding your visual images. I can't remember the name it was. It was a mini course, and I took this mini course, and I was blown away by not only the content, but also how Dre presented the content, how easy it was to understand, because I am a graphic dummy. I can't do it. It's just beyond me. It's not my skill set. It's not in my wheelhouse at all. So, but I was really impressed. And by the end of that mini course, I decided that I was hiring Dre to help me create a branded look for my blog images and my other marketing images. We started with a couple blog sizes, and then I said, okay, I need everything else done too. So I've been really happy with what she created for me, how she communicated with me. And I just thought, I got to get Andrea here in front of my audience too, here on Adventures in Visibility, and that's why we're here today. So let me give you just the brief bio for Dre. Based on what she says, and it's true, Andrea Beltrami is a straight-shooting, wine-guzzling, sassy California girl who in 2012 traded in her miserable day job for her lifelong dream of self-employment. Over the last 2 years, Dre has helped solopreneurs and small business entrepreneurs from around the world create a vision for their voice. And I love that image, a vision for their voice. She helps entrepreneurial badasses propel their online success by creating branding and visual strategies that reflect their unique personality and style. And indeed she does. So welcome, Dre. I am so happy that you're here with me today on Adventures in Visibility.
What's up? I'm super stoked to be here. And finally, like you said, connect. It's like we've been emailing and talking and chatting, and this is the first actual face-to-face for us. So I am so excited to be here.
You are like somebody I admire so much. Just watching you, seeing how you interact with people, seeing what you create, reading your blog posts. I mean, it's just awesome. So I would like to start off by asking you kind of a foundational question, because I don't really know this answer, and maybe others don't either, or maybe I just didn't, look hard enough. But I'd like to, find out from you, like, when did you discover, design was your thing, and how did you get started with design as a business calling for you?
It was really an evolution. I would love to say that I knew what I wanted to do. So it's funny because I think some of us find our career and some of us, our career finds us. And that was kind of the thing for me. My career found me, and it was a long evolution. I've always been creative and artistic, and I've done, painting and drawing, and not that I'm good at any of it, but I've always just loved all that stuff. So I ended up going to college for interior design and thought that I was really going to love that. And while I do love that, it wasn't a career. It was a hobby, and I was trying to make a hobby a career, and it sort of sucked all the fun out of it. But I learned so many amazing things in that. And then shortly after that, because I was working in corporate America to put myself through school, I was given a chance to do some web coding and learn web design in my corporate job. So I took a lot of my interior design into the web world. I learned the techie part of it with all the boring coding and all that stuff. Slowly that segued into graphic design. And the thing was that all three of them really had pieces that I loved, but it wasn't a perfect fit. And when I decided to take my freelance business online, because it was really just word of mouth and referral and local business, when I decided to take it online, I realized the importance of branding, and I really dove into that. And when I discovered that, everything came together for me. It was really just the foundation of visual strategies. And I took a piece of everything I learned from interior graphic and web design to do what I do today. And so it's a little bit of mix of a background of 10 years in design fields of all different types. And I just kind of found my groove there. And that's why I say it's like a visual strategist. It's a little bit of everything. It's really understanding the power of visuals and how to translate your voice into a visual presence. So that's my mojo these days. And it finally fits like a friggin' glove.
Yeah, I can tell that it does. It's, okay, I'm sorry. Some people are seeing this and some people aren't. So, yeah, what I would like
to refresh.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to type that into the comments. So if we can just hold that thought here
Perfect.
for a moment.
I'm in a holding pattern.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here. Refresh.
Good old tech.
Yep, good old tech, exactly. Let me see what's going on. So just taking a little hiatus here. Somebody said they're not seeing it on YouTube either. That's odd.
Yeah, it says live on my side.
Yeah, it says live on my side too. May just be live for us.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, this is public, so. Okay.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Are you?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, for some reason, it's not.
We're not live?
It's live. It's live for you and I. Oops, I lost you.
You did?
Yeah.
You didn't lose my voice, right?
Nope. I have your voice. I don't have your.
I'm like, wait, you're answering me. How did you lose me?
Okay, there you are. Okay. Okay, it says live. Oh, wow. Okay, well, you know what? I think we're just going to have to carry on and hope this is recording and then get back to people. So,
gotta do what you gotta do. Let's do it.
Exactly. All right. So you've put together all these different disciplines of visual media, basically, you know, through your studies, your expertise, your work, your et cetera, and come up with this whole visual strategist thing. So one of the things I know that you talk about is a visual or a branding guidelines and putting together like a style guide. Can you talk a little bit about that and how do you figure that out for your business?
It really starts with a discovery phase. I mean, a lot of people want to jump right into the designing and the creating of things, but it really starts with discovery. And that is the foundation and guide that's going to help you create your guidelines. So it's figuring out things about the look and feel that you want your brand to evoke and the things that you stand for and your own personality and style. It's figuring out those and really diving. It's a soul searching process is what I call it, to figure out what you're all about. I mean, for your brand, it's like the adventure side and the spontaneity and the risk taking and the happiness that you get when you have this like adrenaline, you know, pumping. It's figuring out those principles, and then you take those and you create your guidelines, and your guidelines are like the bones of your entire branding. Everything is an extension of them. So this is defining your color palettes and or your color palette, your fonts, the decorative elements, your logos, your logo variations. then everything on the visual side of your brand that you create is dictated by those guidelines. So even for a color palette, it's like, okay, great, pick 5 colors. You actually want to define exactly how each color is used. So you should have, a background color. You should have an action color that should be everything, all buttons and links and anything that somebody can click should be one color. So it's about defining every part of your visual brand. And then now when you're creating an image, you know exactly what colors you're using for your fonts. You know exactly what fonts you're using. You know exactly what decorative elements, this sort of frame, like we created for your image with the arrow. That's now a signature part of your brand. And every time you have any kind of image, which you're doing wonderfully, that's part of it. And using those guidelines builds up the consistency and the familiarity that leads to brand recognition. That's what it's all built on. So you have to start at the discovery, but you've got to define those branding guidelines and use them in every piece of your business.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've been getting a lot of feedback too on the images, and people are really liking how the arrow points to the URL and that sort of thing. And and it made so much sense when you came up with that. I was like, oh yeah, of course. It's like this like route that you travel to get to the end point.
Yeah, and everywhere
oh my God.
Yeah, and everywhere you go, right, it's like there's an arrow. Like when you're driving, when you're traveling, everything is like, go this way, this is the direction. So, and how simple, it's really simple, it's really subtle, it doesn't take away from any kind. You're using them for quote images and with stock photography. It works for everything, but it's like that is such a huge adventure look, and it's really simple and subtle. So it doesn't need to get crazy, but it has to stand for what you stand for.
Right. Okay, so how do we bring that, specifically to our blogs, because that's, if that's our foundational piece of online real estate, then we need to, integrate all that. So how do you go about implementing that with a client, for example?
We start with those guidelines. So if it's the color palette and you've defined everything that you're using, then that's how you use it on the blog. So if you need to put your action color. So like I said, you need to make sure every link, every button, and anything that's clickable is your action color on your blog. Then, you define a certain color maybe for your headlines or subheadlines. Then you go through and you make sure your entire blog has that consistency. The sidebar titles are, the same as the subheadline. Your header has got to have your logo in it, and it's got to have a tagline in it. And your background, if you use a texture or a background for your guidelines like you do in your images or something, that may be the background to your blog. Everything that you defined in your branding guidelines should be applied to those elements that they're defined for on your brand. And it's just kind of like what I say, it's your brand recipe. So you've got to put the ingredients in when they need to be put in and where they need to be put in so that you can craft that final recipe, your brand recipe.
So, I would imagine that it's really important for someone to start with this before they start designing their blog, for example, before they set up their blog, and I think a lot of people don't do this. Like, I know I didn't.
Well, and I was gonna say, and we taught, and I gave you some suggestions. I was like, I hope you don't mind, but I want to give you some suggestions on how to use them more consistently on your blog. So yes, a lot of people don't do them at the beginning. If you're just starting out, by all means, that's where you have to start, is defining them. But it's not to say that once you have the blog up and running that it's oh, screw it, we can't do it. You just have to go back. And blogging these days with WordPress is really easy to change things. I know you have a web guy, so it's really simple coding for someone that knows how to do it. I mean, it shouldn't be an expensive job to outsource to a web person, and they can make sure that every link you have is a certain color, so you don't have to in every blog post, make that link a different color. There's really easy ways with CSS coding to make those things happen. So like I said, then you're already to step 3. You still need to go back to step 1, define those things, and then infuse them into your blog. It's never too late to define your brand or to polish things up.
Right, right. Yeah, that's what I often tell people is that, it's not written in stone. The blog, that's what makes them so great is that
Yep.
you can tweak them as you go. I mean, you made those suggestions to me and I immediately said, okay, change this, and it's done, within 24 hours. And, it makes a huge difference. And, it's like, for me, I'm like the cobbler, with whose kids don't have shoes or something.
Yeah. Exactly. But the changes you made were really simple changes, like you said, done in 24 hours. I mean, 3 or 4 really basic things that, like you said, you had your web guy do. It can change and streamline and polish your website like you wouldn't imagine. It's that powerful, your branding guidelines. I mean, it's a job, it's a task, but it makes a world of difference. It makes all the difference.
Yeah. The other thing that I realized is that I don't have to think about as much stuff anymore. Like, especially, when I'm adding that, major image to a blog post, or I'm creating a quote image, I don't even think about it anymore. It's not like, oh, which font's going to look good on this one? I just say, this is my font, and this is the color, and then it's done. So it just saved me so much time. You talk about the know, like, and trust factor. And I know that this is all sort of, we've been covering this in, in little bits and pieces here, with the previous questions, but how does consistency contribute to that?
Well, here's the deal. Consistency allows people to build that, to train themselves to your content, right? So train yourself to your style and to the look and feel of your brand. So when they see your work and your content in their streams or out somewhere on the interwebs, they immediately know it's yours. And a couple things happen with that. One, it breeds that familiarity. 2, if they keep seeing it, they're gonna want to explore it more. And I can't tell you how many people tell me that. It's like, I saw your stuff for a couple months, never clicked on it, but I consistently can tell your content and it's always appearing in my feeds. So I just finally explored more, and then there's a relationship built, right? And so when we see something, we know this in our regular lives, our real lives. When you see something repeatedly, there's a comfort built, there's a familiarity built, and that leads to trust. I mean, and the know and like. So it gives you, and here's the deal. We're all told we have these 7 or 8 seconds to grab someone online, or we lost them forever. I argue that point because branding extends out by leaps and bounds. Because I don't have 8 seconds. I have every time I show up in someone's feed. And that extends that, and that allows me to court them and tease that out and build that relationship, and not lob things at them or try and hustle for 8 seconds to win. Who does that happen with? It doesn't happen. That's not real life. It's really a process and an evolution, and branding makes that happen organically and naturally, and it can really lead to a deep relationship, which is exactly what the know, like, and trust factor is truly like. Not this 8 seconds, like, okay, I'll watch your video. That's not building that. It happens over the course of time, and branding, like I said, it extends your ability to reach someone flat out.
I think that it also unconsciously tells people that you know what you're doing.
You're serious.
That you are, professional, that you are serious about what you're doing, like you said, that you are there for the long haul.
Yep, I agree. I mean, you want to be taken seriously, and having something polished in any way, in any part of our life, that gives us a little bit more confidence in whatever that is that we're looking into. So I agree.
Yeah. It's interesting because when I first started blogging in 2004. I had a business partner at the time, and the name of our business was the Blog Squad. And we did have a logo, and we did have a look and feel, and we did a lot of public speaking, and we wore black suits and pink blouses, and it was very kind of that mod kind of look that we developed, and people always knew. Like, it was like, oh, is Denise going to be wearing her pink this time? It was, everybody knew. And then when I started shifting away, on my own, and I just never really got to it. So now I feel like I'm back on track.
Yeah,
so thank you for helping me with that.
Yes, but you see the difference. I mean, it's not that you haven't been able to have a business, but the difference it makes, and I'm sure you're getting feedback, because now I can see a Denise image like 50 miles away. It's like, nailed it. I know exactly. And that's the goal of it. You know what I mean? That's what you want. You want someone to know that's you, and you want to create that signature style that nobody else has.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's like you said, it's more than just the graphic visuals. It's the whole picture. So even though, hopefully anybody watching the replay, can see that behind me, I've added a new element, which is a world map, because that really, I can't believe it took me this long to think of it, but the thing is that helps extend the whole idea of adventure and adventurousness, which is so important to me in both my personal and business life. So and I've gotten rid of the suits. Who wears a suit on a trek? Not me.
Exactly.
I donated all my suits to somebody else. I don't know them. Yeah. So, it's like the more relaxed casual, and I've been cultivating that. So, and that I think goes to your point about being unique, which you touched on at the beginning too, is, I think a lot of people have trouble kind of finding that, what makes me different. How do you help explore that with people? How do you help them tap into that unique piece?
Well, here's the thing. We just don't give ourselves enough credit. Honestly, most of us are incredibly unique, in our quote unquote real lives. I think what happens is we get online and we think that we need to hold back and dilute or fit into a certain bubble, or we look at other people and we think that that's because they're successful, it must be that, their personality that works. And I know it's scary, because I fell into the same, I always talk about how I did robot marketing for a year before. I mean, it just was horrible, absolutely horrible. I mean, you know me now, and it's like, if you would have read shit that I wrote 2 years ago, you would have just been like, ooh, like icky marketing stuff. What needs to happen is you have to bring you, and that's okay if you're more serious and buttoned up. Bring you. What do your friends know? What are your quirks? What is it that your friends tease you about or make fun of you? How do you really write an email to a friend? Do you really start with this dear or something? It's about really pulling what we really are out. So much of us are desensitized to this marketing movement that's going on, and we've got shit being lobbed at us all day, and it sounds the same, and it's cookie cutter, and packed full of all these promises. What really makes us unique is who we are. Using, like you said, using your voice. You've gotten back to, like, you're an adventurer. You're always up for anything, and you're always exploring new things, and you need new things, and that's you. That's why the brand works, because it's real deal, 110% Denise. Mine is the sassy, sarcasm, straight shooting. That's not a front for me. It's not. That's exactly who I am. I'm constantly getting in trouble because I didn't sugarcoat shit for people. And when I held that back, it's like people can tell. People, like, even if they don't know you, they know that that's not you. When people can see you, they start to resonate. So the first place to start is really you. Like do some exercises and ask some friends to help you. It's hard because we don't really look at ourselves in that way. We're not like really self-reflective a lot. That's not really, society and where we are. But that is what it takes. And that's why I say start at the discovery phase. what's the foundational stuff? Like, what's the 5 adjectives that describe you? Like, if your friends were like, she's dun, 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 what are those? You know, and that has to come out in your style, your voice, in everything you do, just how you're infusing all the adventurous stuff into everything you do.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And you know, for me, is when I realized that, I mean, it was like this, you know, thunderbolt coming down into my head, you know, after my second trip to Peru. I was like, why isn't this part of what I'm putting out on the web? Because this is who I've been since I was born, practically.
Right.
As the traveler, as the adventurer, as the experimenter, you know, and I never talk about that, you know, really too much, you know, and now I do.
Yeah. I think we compartmentalize stuff, especially us solopreneurs and us online. You know, and it's healthy to kind of like cut off personal life from business, and we try to straddle that healthy. But really, the secret sauce is, and it's this, I have the same lightning bolt. Like, the light hits, like it all fits. The glove comes on and fits like nothing else when that really clicks for you. When you really find your groove and you find a comfort with being able to be you, that's when the magic is really going to happen. And it takes time. We both know, like, it doesn't really happen overnight. It's an evolution, and it doesn't mean that you can't start without having that 110% clarity, but you got to work for it.
Yeah, because I mean, I've been doing business online for a really long time, and it took me until just a few years ago. So
exactly.
But I think everything contributes. Everything we do contributes to that and helps us come to that you know, light bulb moment. So visual branding is, you know, well, visuals online have just become so incredibly important. How do you convey that to your clients that they need to get on board? Because, you know, when I started blogging in 2004, nobody put images in their blogs. That just wasn't something we did. Nobody did. But now, if you don't have one, nobody will read your blog. So,
and that's pretty much the selling point. I mean, let's look at our own habits, right? Same thing with me. Like, it kills me that some of the big name brands, like the big social brands, I'm not going to call anybody out, but it's like, are you kidding me? You don't have a friggin' image? I mean, just to be able to share your content, again, it's consistency and it's controlling how your brand is appearing online. You need an image. You need a branded image. So all I ask them is their own habits. Like, do you enjoy just staring at a screen full of text, or is that a little bit daunting? And do you like, you know, it's easier to read, it's easier to digest, it's easier to share. It's not a hard sell. I think the biggest barrier for people is knowing how to create them, you know, knowing what to do, how to create that image, which is why I had that mini course. But these days, you know, Canva, PicMonkey, they make it easy. So there's no excuse not to use images. It's absolutely absurd. There's all pros and no cons. It just takes a little bit of learning the principles of a good blog, you know, branded image, and you're rocking and rolling. And like you said, you create a template, which is what we did for you, and you don't have to think about anything. Your fonts are chosen, where you put your headlines in the image are chosen, how the image looks. Like you said, you have to swap out the text, and if you are going to use a photograph, swap out the photograph. It's easy. How many minutes does it take you to do a blog image now?
The longest part for me personally is figuring out what image I want to use.
Right.
But none of the other stuff takes long, because now it's just zip, zip, zip. You know, it's like, you know, type in the title and bam, it's done. You know, and that used to take me probably at least half an hour as I fiddled with stuff. And now it's just, okay, what image? Because I use a lot of my own images. I mean, sometimes I'll use some stock photography if I can't find something of my own. But, you know, what I tell people now is, like, we have this amazing piece of equipment now. Smartphones that have cameras on them take pictures of everything.
Exactly.
And so, you know, I have thousands upon thousands of pictures now, and take a picture of the sky and just use that as the background. I mean, I did
Totally.
that. I go running and I was like, oop, okay, nice sunset, click,
Yeah. Take a picture of your desk. Like, how many people use the desk computer image? Like, I see it all up, but it works. It's great.
Yeah.
There's no barrier. Exactly. Like I said, there's no reason not to do it. And there's plenty of free resources. Like you just said, phone, Canva. There's no reason not to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the people who developed Canva, brilliant. Yeah. I in the beginning, I felt bad for graphic designers because I personally know a lot of graphic designers, and and I know that it impacts their work. But you still have to have a design eye. The templates don't necessarily. I could start changing out templates on Canva, and it looks like shit.
Right.
But
exactly. No, and that's also a basis. It's not your brand either. I mean, can you imagine how many people are using those templates? So, and I kind of have a whole rant about not even just graphic designers, but designers and the fear of becoming irrelevant. I mean, it's like anything else. How many retail stores struggle because there's an online market now? You just got to roll with the times, people. So
thank you.
We can't just be sitting here fearful because by empowering people to do their own shit, that's going to make us irrelevant. I can't stand that mentality. So I'm happy to teach people how to do it themselves if they want to do it themselves. I mean, you hired me. You went to the mini course, learned how to do it, and you hired me.
Right.
For me, it's like I'm totally happy to empower people, and it has not affected my ability to get business in any way, shape, or form. In fact, it had the opposite effect. I've gotten more business for it. So that's a whole different rant, though. We won't go there, even though I just did.
Well, I totally agree. And it's, 100%, because, I saw, I attended a course and saw, I don't want to do this. I can't, it's like, this isn't even something that, like, I can, but it's not going to look as good unless I go to a professional. Who knows how to do this. So, that's what I encourage my clients to do too. Yeah, you can do it yourself, and maybe that's fine for some things, but then, go to a professional when it's time to get serious. Exactly. So, we're at the half hour now, and because we have no idea if this is recording or not, and if it's not, I'm going to really cry, but,
we can read you. I'm happy to come back, girl.
We will if it didn't record, I hope. But, so let's just, make the assumption that it's recording. And I want to ask my final question, which is, what is your most memorable adventure? And as you know, anything counts as an adventure to me. So I would just love to hear what that is for you.
Well, the two different ones are definitely the adventure of being a solopreneur. That is a daily adventure, and I love that. But honestly, I'm kind of like, you gotta get out and really experience something. So my best adventure is my trip to Thailand. I went there for 3 weeks, and it was a once in a lifetime. I mean, you couldn't get me further from everything I know than to put me in Thailand. And it was amazing. It was the best trip. It was 5 years ago, and I still reminisce and look at the picture. There were so many adventures, so much new stuff. And I'm with you. I love to travel. I would love to just plop me somewhere I have no idea anything about and explore the hell out of it. So I need to go back. But Thailand is the adventure for me that still is at the top of the list.
Yeah, I've been to Thailand twice. And the first time, it was before it really became a tourist, destination or a travel destination. And that was in 1979. There wasn't even anything in English. So, and I was alone.
It was pretty crazy. Since then.
Yeah. When I went back again, a few years later, it was totally different. But I love Thailand also. It's a beautiful country.
So gorgeous.
Well, thank you. So what is the best place for folks to find you online? Make sure they can do that.
Yeah, all the social spots. I'm really, really active on Google+, which is where we met. So come explore me over there, or go to thebrandedsolopreneur.com and hop on the society list, because there are, a ton of perks. We have a private Facebook group, and lots of free downloadables and all that stuff. So either track me down at the website or come find me on Google Plus. Those are two of my best spots that I'm really like chilling at all day. So come say hi, visit. Let me know if you have any questions. Holla at your girl.
Yeah, I was going to say or ask if if the society is open for new members, because that is just really an amazing resource you've created there.
Absolutely. And it's growing really fast, and there's so many amazing people in there. So the only requirement is that you get on the list, and as soon as you subscribe, you get an invite to the group. So I highly encourage people to go there. There's just a wealth of information and a lot of really badass people like yourself that are always offering support and help. And it's a great place for solopreneurs.
Yeah, I've noticed it's an extremely supportive group. So congratulations on putting that together.
Thank you.
So that brings us to the end. So I just want to remind viewers that you can get on the list to get advance notice of Adventures in Visibility at adventuresinvisibility.com. If you prefer to take the adventures on the go with you when you're on your own adventures, you can get it as a podcast as well, and that is at adventuresinvisibilitypodcast.com. It's available on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. And the last thing I want to say is that my next online visibility challenge starts on Monday, June 15th, and it's going to be about optimizing your blog for better conversion. So this was a perfect segue into this, because a lot of what you need to optimize on your blog is your visual branding. So I'll be referring everyone to this, and if they're not, if this wasn't recorded, then we'll be doing it again. So,
sweet.
Anyway, Dre, thank you so much for being here with me today, sharing your expertise, and hopefully recording it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. It was a blast. And if we have to do it again, 2.0 will be just as epic.
Okay. So thank you so much. Have an adventurous day.